Hello, I'm Ron Whitlock, and welcome to Ron Whitlock Reports. 5 United States and Mexican states bordering on the Gulf of Mexico have relied on jobs and an economy based on shrimp. But cheap imported shrimp and high diesel prices have left much of the world's largest shrimp fleet in port and not shrimping in the Gulf of Mexican waters where they belong. Thusly, an economy in decline, jobs lost. Shrimp on the tables of many of us, in our freezers. We buy it when we go to restaurants all across the United States of America. But by and large, the shrimp we are consuming today is no longer purchased from the Gulf of Mexico, where it's home to the largest shrimp fleet in the world. What's happening? Bob Cornelissen, Port Director for Port Isabel, South Padre Island Navigation District, and State Representative Rene Olivera are going to tell you and I what's happened to the shrimping industry. Fellas, Bob?
I don't see it. I don't think fuel is going to come down to the point that dockside fuel used to run about 80 cents a gallon, as low as 60 cents a gallon. Now they're paying over almost $3 a gallon across the dock, and that's tax-free. The price of shrimp is 1950s prices. The Chinese have dumped literally 1 billion pounds of shrimp on the U.S. market. We probably have a year and a half supply in the freezer now.
All the boats on the screen now across from your offices have been sitting there idle for how long?
A couple of years. We had a few boats go to Louisiana. One of the captains told me he's got to catch 600 pounds a night to break even. And that's an extraordinary catch. And so he has to do extraordinary every night to break even or to pay for the fuel. Any kind, how many different ways can, they delayed maintenance, they delayed overhauls, they've delayed haul-outs. The crews can't make a living. They've gone on to other ventures. A lot of the core crew are already gone, are on to something else. The banks, and we have some very stalwart banks here in the valley that funded shrimping and just like agriculture for many, many years, and their coattails are out the window when you ask for a loan to go fishing.
Now, the Mexican government has purchased basically the shrimp fleets in Veracruz, Tampico, taking over, mothballed it in a stopgap measure. But is there anything that could be done in that vein by the state, in your case Texas, Louisiana, any other Gulf Coast state, or the federal government, Representative Olivera, to try and help stave off the ultimate total failure of the shrimping industry as we've known it?
There are creative things that can still be done to save it as perhaps more of a niche market. Right now, the biggest problem is a pound of Gulf shrimp costs twice as much as a pound of Mexican shrimp. And if you want to fry it or somehow cover it with something, you can't taste the difference. You sure can when you boil good Gulf shrimp and try it with that other. It still has a much purer, finer taste. But the problem is dumping from other nations. Ever since we've opened up trade and allowed shrimp products to come in from all over the world, where fuel is cheaper, where labor is cheaper, where liability insurance isn't an issue, and on and on. The fleet, which was once the largest in the world, in Brownsville and Port Isabel, is now one small fleet. In fact, not just in Bob's port, but in the port of Brownsville, there are lots of boats just tied up, asking for somebody to seize them or take them away, and there isn't even much of a market for that.
So a tax moratorium on the amount of taxes going into per fuel,
there are things
per gallon,
that,
probably wouldn't do much.
One of the things I've resented that our government seems to always recognize and take care of farmers. I don't resent that, but I do resent that they've never recognized shrimpers as harvesters of the sea, as farmers of the sea. And if we did the same kind of subsidizing and help that farmers get for the farmers of the sea, including lower fuel prices, other kinds of trade benefits, helping them with their workforce, we probably would have a more viable shrimp fleet. There's still a lot of people that want to get their boats out, that want to shrimp. It's a good product, but it is getting harder and harder, if not impossible, to make a profit.
And you add then this import of shrimp, of billions of pounds of foreign shrimp that the EU wouldn't let in because they were treated with chemicals, so they were dumped on the U.S. market. We lobbied to get and Renee helped to get a 40 cent per pound tariff placed on that dumped shrimp, because the industry proved that that shrimp was dumped here on the U.S. market.
And that money has been collected by the federal government?
That money has been and being collected.
And what's happened to those dollars?
I don't know what's happened to those dollars. There were a couple of small checks that went out to the guys. I'm going to tell you now that a lot of the reason that the vessels are still sitting with licenses is that they believe that they're going to be bought out. They believe that their license, either from Parks and Wildlife,
as this happened in Mexico, to a degree.
They believe that there's going to be a limited number of licenses, and so their license has some value. I don't know. I think it's false hope.
I talked directly to the Secretary of Commerce of the Bush administration, member of the cabinet, Carlos Gutierrez. I asked him specifically what he might be able to do. Here's that interview. The shrimping industry is dead here because there's a 1.5-year backlog of shrimp available in the United States in warehouses. So our shrimping industry, which is a $100 million industry, employs 4,000 people, is really dead on arrival. Mexico has bought out their shrimping industry south of us in Tampico because of the fact that they are dead also in the marketplace. Would your department consider analyzing doing the same thing for the valley that Mexico is doing in Tampico and that the Commerce Department has done on the East Coast when faced with a similar situation? This was caused by the Commerce Department giving out a quota of shrimp to be brought in and glutted the market. Well, we've got way too much shrimp, mainly from China. And so the shrimping industry, a big industry for this region, is dead.
Well, I can't obviously make any promises on a specific industry. I can tell you that...
I'm not aware of it, but would you be willing to look in?
We will look at everything that helps us create more jobs in this country, makes us more competitive, enables us to compete more in what is becoming increasingly a world economy and a global economy. We know we're competing with the likes of China and Asia more and more every day. We have to get more competitive, and I can assure you that the President's agenda drives us toward becoming a more competitive and a stronger global player.
Now, in addition to all of those things, we talked to the shrimping industry along the Gulf Coast of the United States. Here's what they had to tell us. The largest shrimp fleet in the world existing here on the Texas and Louisiana Gulf. What is the future look like for your shrimp fleet?
The future actually looks pretty bleak.
A lot of shrimp boats have not even been out for over a year, 2 years in some cases, correct?
Correct. And those boats are probably not going to go back fishing ever.
What impact is your ability to buy diesel in Mexico having on your operations this shrimping season?
It's the only means of us surviving the season. We are paying about $2.07 a gallon for fuel in Mexico versus $4.16 a gallon today here in Brownsville. Had the Lord not opened up the way for us to go get that fuel in Mexico, our boats would not go fishing this season.
How many vessels are no longer going out and shrimping out of the 400 here and the over 100 at Port Isabel San Benito Navigation District?
You're probably about 40 to 50% of the boats will not go fishing this season.
And they're sitting there rotting at the dock?
They're sitting rotting at the dock. One of the things that, of course, we need to is create that niche in the market so that we are assured that we're going to get decent prices for the shrimp. Right now, prices to us at the docks, the producers, is about 40% less than what they were, let's say, back in 2000. And so unless we can get the prices of shrimp up and the price of diesel fuel back down, then this industry will collapse.
So the jobs and the economy of the United States, based on those dollars coming out of shrimping, looks very bleak.
It looks very bleak. And if this industry collapses, you're looking at probably 250,000 people out of work. If our government don't step in and try to save this industry, then it will just go ahead and go out of go out of business. Will be out of existence.
And the niche market would be consumers going to restaurants, going to the supermarket, demanding wild-caught shrimp as opposed to imported. That's simple.
Correct. And that's the word we want to get to the consumers, is that if they're going to buy shrimp at their favorite restaurant or at their favorite grocery store, to ask for the wild-caught Gulf of Mexico shrimp. And bear in mind that the imported shrimp is usually has chemicals with it that are illegal in food substances here in the United States.
And those chemicals are added into the ponds where the farm-raised shrimp actually is grown.
Correct. And two of the more common ones is chloramphenicol and nutriferins. These are antibiotics that are used in the ponds to kill off the viruses and bacteria that would form in these ponds. Those two chemicals are banned from food products here in the United States.
But not where they're imported and raised.
Exactly not. No. They're allowed to use them over there, and we are supposed to test for that illegal antibiotics. And the reason that we have so much of the imports coming into this country is if that product is sent to one of the European countries, they have a more sophisticated method of testing for that product. If they find traces of that illegal antibiotics in the shrimp, the country of origin don't have the luxury of getting that shrimp back. It's destroyed. So their chances are better to send it to the United States. Last year we had 1.6 billion pounds of that shrimp come into the United States, and less than 1% of it was tested.
You're telling me here today, Mr. President, that if anyone brings you a check, your 6 shrimp boats standing behind you are indeed for sale.
If it's a reasonable price to where I could satisfy the bank, they're for sale.
Why is that?
I don't see any future anymore in this business. I think it's time to just if I could, just sell them and move on.
And that attitude prevails throughout all of your membership.
I think I'm safe when I speak for everyone in the industry here in both Port Isabel and Brownsville ports, that given the opportunity to sell their boats today, they would.
Cheap imported shrimp may have eliminated your job in the Gulf of Mexico, but expensive imported oil is resulting in new jobs being created in South Texas and northern Mexico. A 30 billion barrel Gulf of Mexico oil field is about 125 miles east of Port Isabel, San Benito, Texas, and it might lower gas prices for your car and also might provide a job for you or your family. Now, one-stop shopping for offshore drilling supplies and all of the things that fit into that criteria. Bob, what have you done? You've leased up all of the land of your port in Port Isabel, San Benito Navigation District.
You know, Ron, several years ago, Hess Oil Company came and talked to us and said there's been some discoveries offshore, there's more coming, and they were looking us over to be a base for offshore oil. But from that time to this time, that oil and gas niche and those jobs were Louisiana, East Texas, down to Galveston, obviously some in Corpus Christi, but we were never in the right place. We were always too far away. The water's too deep.
Well, now there's 15 billion barrels, 125 miles off Port Isabel, San Benito Navigation District, and so
finally they found some out there in the extreme deep water, and with really space age technology and extreme difficulty. And this stuff's going to cost $30 a barrel probably to produce it, but it's there, and the finds are big, the oil is sweet, and it's close to the U.S. market. It's literally in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. So we're working to attract seismographic vessels. We're working for exploration and production vessels. Well, the company we landed was in construction of the infrastructure. Subsea 7 is one of four or five companies in the world who can lay this production pipeline at these depths.
So the solution the port found in being able to provide all of the services, which you had basically none, having been a shrimping port all of your life as a port, was to bring in Pilot and its president, who we have with us here, Rusty Reichert. We're going to introduce him to you in a moment. So, Representative Oliveira, what does this mean, the strategic alliance between the port of Port Isabel, San Benito?
I think it means a lot. We've relied a lot on fishing and shrimping as a resource. That may be a completely different future now for that industry. With the price of per barrel being predicted to go up within probably a year to $200 a barrel, which may mean gas prices at $5 to $6 a barrel, we need to be creating jobs like this that would mean more production of oil and gas and give our consumers and our taxi cab drivers and our trucking industry and consumers a break.
Well, entering on the set at this particular moment, Rusty Reichert, president of Pilot. Now, the current competitive advantages that your company has at your particular location is the fact you're 125 miles away from all of the hot exploration, and Galveston is 217 miles, and Fushon is 320 miles for servicing.
Yes, sir. And
what does that mean to a service entity working in this field as it relates to these dollars and these distances that prevails not only from your standpoint, but from Galveston and Fushon?
Well, the logistic advantage, cost savings alone, is substantial in timing. Just a steamship timing from Fushon to the Great White, which is 125 miles off our jetties. At $60,000, $70,000 a day for a workboat, it doesn't take long to figure out how you can cut some cost in your drilling program. So we're very excited. We've got other advantages here that are just natural occurring advantages. We have deep water at the dock facility. We have 32 foot of water at the dock facility, which is basically unheard of in other ports. So we've got that advantage. Of course, we're close to the northern Mexico waters, which we believe strongly will come into play in a short order.
Subsea 7, the first tenant in the Pilot project, Pilot base at the port of Port Isabel, San Benito, is Subsea 7. They're building a new pipe fabrication spool base in the southern tip of Texas and the northern tip of northern Mexico, investing $32 million, employing 80 to 100 employees right out of the bag, Mr. State Representative, in your district.
I like it. That's good.
You're going to help them too, I bet, any way
will.
you can. For generations, people along the Gulf Coast of Mexico, the Gulf of Mexico, have shrimped. They have got up early in the morning, got on their shrimp boats, went out, drugged their nets, and brought in the haul, and that has been a profitable venture for them and for the economy of the United States and Mexico. However, those days apparently are over, at least for the foreseeable future, but in the meantime, one-stop shopping for offshore drilling supplies being provided to the southern tip of Texas and northern Mexico by the president of Pilot, Rusty Reichert. Rusty, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Now, your first tenant to move in, the $32 million investment into your facility, almost half of the entire port of Port Isabel, San Benito Navigation District. You are basically now the port of Port Isabel, San Benito, because you've leased almost all of it that's available for lease, and now you're leasing a portion of it to the gentleman sitting to your side, Mr. Greg Donnelly. Welcome to the program,
Thank
Greg.
You. Yes, sir. We're very excited. We're extremely excited with Subsea 7's commitment to come to the area. As well, we've made a commitment to them to support their venture, and we're extremely excited to announce breaking ground, possibly within the month.
A new pipe fabrication spool base, Greg. What is a fabrication spool base, and how important is it to get these 19 billion barrels of crude oil out of the Gulf of Mexico?
Well, this spool base, Ron, is very important to Subsea 7. Our company has 4 of these around the world, and we're desperate to expand our business sector in the Gulf of Mexico. To do that, we need one of these facilities. This facility builds stalks of pipe for us to reel up onto our vessels and take them out into the Gulf and unreel them and lay them on the seabed, connecting up pipelines to bring oil and gas ashore to the U.S. market.
to the refineries, which are predominantly located in Texas and Louisiana.
That's correct, yeah. We'll lay pipe anywhere.
But out of this particular base that Rusty Reichert is president of, predominantly it'll be in the Gulf of Mexico, obviously.
It will, yes, and this is, the base here is really designed to serve our vessels working here in the Gulf of Mexico, but that's not to say they wouldn't load pipe here at our base in Port Isabel and then take that to Brazil or take that to West Africa. Our vessels move around the globe, so we'd be very happy to load pipe here and take it somewhere else.
Why locate here? Is it location, location, location? And does that bode well for the future economy and employment base for this region?
Yes, it is. And I personally have spent 2 years looking in the Gulf Coast trying to find an ideal location to build this facility. We looked at several places. In fact, we were very close to signing to go to work in Corpus Christi. And then very fortunately, we found out about Port Isabel only a matter of a few months ago. Mm-hmm. We came here to the town. The people made us extremely welcome. We got fabulous support from both pilot, the port, the mayor. In fact, everybody in town really were so welcoming to us that it was key to our reason to come here.
That was more of a key than the location being about 100 miles further south and closer to Mexico and South America?
Certainly that potential really excites us going forward. Subsea 7 sees itself as moving into the Central American business, certainly serving the deep water Mexican markets in the future. That was certainly one of the things that we looked at very seriously with Port Isabel, the fact that it was very close to that market.
So it was more all of those elements than Rusty Reichert's good salesmanship.
Well, Rusty did a very good job.
He met me in the nick of time.
And at the right moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the states surrounding the Gulf of Mexico in the catbird seat as the price of oil rises higher and higher in the Middle East, and those areas are just in constant state of conflict?
It is, yes. We desperately needed to be able to try and put some concrete growth down here so that we could expand and try and do something about that constant state of flux that the rest of the industry is in.
Any last comment you'd like to make before the program ends regarding how important this is to the region and its economy?
One of the key things that we're going to bring is a long-term sustainable business. We're going to employ a lot of local people. We're very happy to be here and be part of that.
Well, the 30 billion barrels of oil and vast quantities of natural gas just offshore from Port Isabel and San Benito, Texas, lower either your utility bill or your future fill-up at the pump? Well, we hope so. Will it help the economy and or the jobs of the United States and Mexico? Absolutely. We hope you've learned something you needed to know here on Ron Whitlock Reports. Go to ronwhitlock.com anytime you want to watch it again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Till next time, adios.